with this, let us move to the other type. So, considering we are talking about morphological typology, we will try to find out what are the other morphological typology available in the world's languages. Okay? So, now let us see, we did discuss how the analytic and synthetic morphological typology works, and which category does your language belong to, right. So, now with this information, let us move to another domain of morphological typology, that is the logically possible word order, or what sort of logically possible word order structures that emerge from the world's languages. So, I am going to talk about a few combinations, again from Moravcik's book we are getting data, and then we are referring to examples that have been given over there, and then we will see the three basic combinations that has been or that have been discussed here, whether this is like whether your language would fall into one of this category, or the languages that you know that can fall into one of this category. But cross linguistically, these are the three types that you see at the morphological level. Okay. Before that, I would just help you to recall what all we talked about when we discussed what is a stem, what is an affix, and how affixes will have prefixes and suffixes. Primarily prefixes are derivational morphemes, and suffixes could be either derivational or inflectional depending on the situation. So, in such cases, the three logically possible word orders are emerging. So, what are the three logical possible word orders? If it is a complex word or even a compound word, anything other than simple, because if it is a simple word, there is only one morpheme, and that is the free morpheme. So, we are not going to, that is not going to bother us as far as word order is concerned, because the moment you say word order, the first thing that should strike to your mind is that we have multiple morphemes here. Then only we are going to put it in order. If there is only one morpheme, there is absolutely no need to worry about what is happening in the word order thing. So, these three categories or these three types are going to be considered on the basis of the polymorphemic words that we have in hand. So, when I say polymorphemic, I am primarily referring to multiple morphemes. Okay. So, yes, as I was talking about, so can you recall for yourself how we discussed affixation as well as the stem things. Like in a word, you might have roots, you also might have stems. So, sometimes the stems can also be considered as roots, but not always. So, the example, if I remember, I gave you, I forgot exactly what was the example, but then I will give you a fresh example how to understand whether a stem can be a root or not. So, let us say untouchability. So, when you this is a little complex word, but let us try to figure out what is the root here and what is the stem here. So, when it is untouchability, see that is sorry, I wrote the spelling wrong. So, untouchability. Okay. Let us count the morphemes first. That is what we are doing in most of the time as far as morphological typology is concerned. Here is one morpheme, touch, another morpheme, able, another morpheme, then ity, another morpheme. So, at least 4 morphemes that we see. So, let us start from the root word touch, then we have touchable, then we have touchability, I don't know. Then we have untouchability. Right. So, in this connection, we will see touch is the root word. How it is a root, why it is a root word? Because that is a head word, or that is the main thing in this word, in this entire morphemic division. So, from touch we are getting touchable. So, the part of the word that can host a bound morpheme is treated as stem for that bound morpheme. So, touch is the stem for able. So, in touchable, touch is the stem. In touchability, touchable is the stem for ity, okay? And in untouchability, the entire touchability can be the stem for un. So, the stem and then it keeps, like you can keep on adding morphemes and you can keep on creating stems. So, one stem, so what is a stem then? A morpheme or a part of the word which can actually host a morpheme here. However, if you compare touch as a stem and touchable as a stem, there is a difference. Touch as a stem can also be considered as a root, but touchable as a stem cannot be considered as a root, because it has another morpheme associated with it, right. So, that is how we need to understand when we are trying to figure out what are the typologically possible word orders. Again, it must be logical also. So, the first thing that we have, or the first type that I am going to talk about, is when one stem is combined with another stem. So, that is the first type. The second type, when we are combining stem with an affix, whether it is a prefix or a suffix will decide on the basis of the selection of the word. Then the third one we have when we have an affix combined with another affix, which is actually a rare thing in most of the world's languages. So, stem combined with affix, sort of okay, in most of the cases we do encounter such kind of constructions. Stem combined with stem can also be kind of not much frequently available, but yes, it is not that rare. But when you have a word only with the affixes, that is a problem, or sorry, that is a rare phenomenon in if you try to explore it, or if you try to find out the statistics or the quantificational thing in a cross linguistic perspective. Okay. So, now let us look at the first possible combination first. This is a stem combined with a stem. I hope you understand what is a stem. A stem can be considered as a root too at instances, and all the roots are, for that matter, can be considered as stems also if they have an affix holding ability, right. So, all stems cannot be roots, but all roots can be stems if they have the, again, if there is a condition applied to it, if they have an affix holding ability, right. So, now let us look at the data given in English, and then there is another data given in Malay. So, these are typologically unrelated languages. Obviously, we expect a lot of difference as far as syntactic structure is concerned, morphological selection is concerned. However, as far as stem combined with the stem formula is concerned, they do belong to, like they behave almost similarly. So, let us look at the first word in fifth, like the example given in 5a, we have blackboard. So, when you say blackboard, there are two stems here, one is black, the other one is board. So, black also can be considered as a root, board can also considered as a root, but otherwise they can also be treated as stems primarily because of their affix holding ability. To make the understanding clearer for you, can you tell me how black, or can you give me an instance where black can actually be considered as a stem? So, I just said it is a root, no problem, it can stand alone, it is a free morpheme, and then you can call it a root, that there is absolutely no issue about it. But calling it a stem, that means it must have an affix holding ability. So, I can say blacken, I blackened the wall. So, that means black, from black we got blacken, and from blacken we got blackened. So, that means this example gives you an idea that this has the affix holding ability. Same is the case with board. Board could be a root word, it can also be a stem. I can say I boarded the bus. So, that also has an ability to be considered as a stem. So, blackboard or high school. So, high, height, heightened, that can be possible, school, schooling, all these words, they have the stem holding capacity. That is why this is the first type. When you are talking about the logically possible word order, the first type, stem combined with stem, English allows it, Malay also allows it. So, Malay data is given in 5. So, matahari, which means sun. So, mata is I and hari is day. So, both of them are stems in Malay. That is why stem combining with stem type is valid in this language. The other example is also man forest, which is primarily ape, like the human, the forest dwelling people in that sense, in the early stage of early humans. So, the apes, orang otan. So, orang means man, otan means forest. So, together this becomes ape. So, English and Malay, these two languages for sure they allow the first type when the stem is combined with the stem, and these are the compound words. So, when two independent stems are joined together, we call it compound words. We have already had a discussion on this in the previous classes. So, now can you think about the languages that you speak, does it allow this category or the first category? So, do let me know when we have a live session later. So, if you think your language falls in the first category. Now, let us go to the second category. The second category is when the stem is combined with affix. If you remember, affixes could be either prefixes or suffixes or infixes also. Prefixes and suffixes are more common, infixes are generally a rare occurrence. In my discussion, I gave you the example of Bonto Igorot, which is a Filipino language, where kayu and kinayu example, if you remember it correctly, kayu means I think wood and kinayu is woodcutter. So, in is the infix. Before that, affixes, prefix and suffix untouchability example that I have given. So, now let us see how the combination of a stem and a suffix or a prefix is going to be in the second category. Again the same data from English and from Malay. So, the English example 10th, 10 is the stem and th is the affix. Similarly, ungrateful. So, in case of ungrateful, full is the affix, and great in that sense when you say grateful. So, it could be this is considered as a stem. So, great is going to be considered as a stem here. So, in this case ungrateful and 10th, these belong to the second category when the stem is combined with the affix. And now, let us look at the Malay data. This is Jang Sapoilo. Again, I am not a native speaker, so I am not even a speaker of this language, forget about native. So, this means 10th. So, in this case the first morpheme is what? The first morpheme is the affix, like the bound morpheme, and the second one is 10. The root morpheme is the second, or the stem is the second morpheme, the first one is a prefix. So, in English it is the suffix, but in Malay this is the prefix. So, in like irrespective of whether it is a prefix or a suffix, it will be considered as an affix, which we are going to put it in a broader terminology. So, this one, in this case this is also the second type, stem combined with affix is going to be is correct for this instance. Then walk and causative with a causative marker, that means you are making somebody walk. So, zalan in. So, in this case zalan is the root morpheme, which is the stem here, and in is the causative marker, which is the suffix. So, irrespective of whether it is a prefix or suffix, this stem and affix combination works both in English and in Malay, and I am sure it works for most of the most of the world's languages, be it Indo-Aryan, Dravidian, Tibeto-Burman, Austroasiatic. In most of the Tibeto-Burman I am keeping it aside for a while, because these are mainly analytic languages, but at least in Indo-Aryan and Tibeto-Burman and Dravidian, and for that matter English, German, French, Hungarian, all these, most of the world's languages will allow stem affix combination. Fine. Now, let us move to the third combination that we have in hand, or the third type. First type, stem and stem. Second type, stem and affix. Third type, affix and affix. So, that is all about morphological typology. So, let us see the third category here. So, when we look at the third category, this is an example from Hungarian. So, the Hungarian example here as given in data 7, tolem or tolem, that means from my. So, from in English these are not really affixes. From is a root marker, like a root word or a free morpheme. My is also a root word and a free morpheme. Both of them are what? Open class or closed class? Can you think about it? Can you recall what we discussed? So, from is a preposition. So, it will be open class or closed class? It should be closed class. And my is a pronoun. So, it is open class or closed class? It should be closed class, right. So, when we are talking about this, tol, which means from in Norwegian, and m, which means my in Norwegian, these two apparently are not free morphemes. So, both of them, they are considered to be affixes. So, how are we going to understand whether it is affix or not? Where is the data? So, the data here is you have to compare it with words like curtle, which means from garden, and you see there is a hyphen here, curt and tall, there is a hyphen. So, this hyphen seems, or sorry, this hyphen means it is one word. You cannot keep them separate, or you cannot put them separately. That is why tall here is also what, prefix or suffix? Can you tell me? Looking at the data here, tall should be the suffix. That means garden, from the garden, and curt that means it is my garden. So, is also written with a hyphen, that means this is also a suffix. So, when the hyphen is before the morpheme, it is a suffix, when the hyphen is after the morpheme, it is prefix, just remember. So, in this case tol and m, both of them, they are going to be the suffixes. So, taking the data from here, or taking the instances from tol and m, we are going to figure out, or we are convinced that these are affixes, and tol and m together can actually, this combination is possible in Hungarian. So, that is the third category. So, when two affixes are joined together to create a different type of morphological typology, or this results in a different this results in morphological typology. So, now let us wind up. Initially, what are the three logical orders that we discussed? The first order that we discussed, stem with a stem, primarily compound words. Second one, stem with an affix, primarily complex words. And both these combinations, or both these types, are available in most of the world's languages. The third one is a little rare, not many languages allow it. So, cross linguistically is not a much common phenomenon like the other two. So, you can't really put both the affixes together. However, at least in the context of Hungarian, it does, it like kind of, it is true, this type is available in a language like Hungarian. So, now my suggestion for you would be the languages that you know, please try to find out how many types are allowed in your language, type 1 or type 2 or type 3 or all of them or some of them. So, figure out or find out which ones are possible, or which type of logical word order is possible in your own language. Besides that, you should also be able to find out in English what are the other examples. So, for our discussion, we did talk about blackboard, we did talk about let me just see what all, so we talked about high school. So, can you give me some other examples of stem combination in English? This could be an assignment question, okay? And then you should also think about stem affix combination in English, something like 10th, ungrateful, educated, right? So, think about more examples in English as well as in your language. And then finally, affix with an affix where there are two different bound morphemes. So, my suggestion for you would be find more English examples and find examples of the languages that you speak. So, so these are the three possible combinations that we have in the word order. So, what have we discussed until now? We did talk about synthetic versus analytic type, then we talked about what are the possible word order. So, after the synthetic and analytic division, then stem affix, stem, affix type, will move to what combination of stems and affixes are available in any given language. So, some languages there is actually no limit for the accommodation of morphemes in a given language. So, it could be 2 morphemes, it could be 3 morphemes depending on the nature of the language that we talk about. So, in this connection we will see if there are, if the affixes are many in number, or if affixes have multiple meanings to convey or multiple loaded informations they have, then how we are going to account for it as far as the typology is concerned. So, do we have separate types of words depending on the monosemous or the polysemous nature of the morphemes? So, when I say polysemous morpheme, that means one morpheme can have multiple informations. When it is monosemous, one morpheme will have only one information, and primarily these are related to the affixes. So, this kind of typology has been narrowed down. So, we are primarily talking about the first thing, like the second type, stem affix combination. So, affixes, look at the data given in Turkish, and then the second 8b example in Latin. Now, let us see how to identify which morpheme or which kind of combination would be monosemous and which ones are going to be polysemous. So, in 8a, ev, ler, e, so there are 3 morphemes here, and look at and what does it mean? Houses. So, that is a ev is house, ler is the plural marker, and e is the accusative marker. So, accusative case marker in that sense, right. So, when you say ev, ler, e, so that means each of the morphemes, they have their independent interpretation, independent meaning. The first morpheme means house, the second morpheme indicates it is a plural marker, the third morpheme indicates it is an accusative marker. That is how we get the house, we get the word the houses with accusative. In case of Latin, however, you see there are only 2 morphemes. So, the root morpheme that will always be there because that is the house. So, ev is house in Turkish, dom is house in Latin. So, with dom we have only one morpheme, that is os. So, os will have plural marking as well as accusative marking. So, one morpheme will have 2 different domains of information associated with it, and in the first one 2 different sets of informations would be associated with 2 different kinds of morphemes. So, how we are going to segregate this? So, there are 2 different terms for it. When you have each morpheme having a different having a different set of information or having different information, we call it separatist language. And when one morpheme might have many informations loaded with it, we call it cumulative language. So, Turkish, now let us see, remember the words separatist and cumulative. So, separatist means each morpheme, look at the Turkish data, each morpheme it has its own information. Ler has own information, plural marking. E, it has its own information, accusative marking. So, that is why Turkish is a separatist language which has separate information for each of the morphemes. However, for Latin it is a cumulative language or it is a cumulative morpheme. Why it is cumulative? One morpheme has multiple informations loaded to it. So, this is also another morphological typology or morphological type that you encounter in this section. So, this is a little more detailed information about separatist and cumulative affixes. So, the question that you have to answer, does an affix have only one meaning or more than one meaning at the same time? If it has only one meaning, it will be separatist affix. If it has more than one meaning at the same time, it will be a cumulative affixes, right. So, this will have a connection with monosemous and polysemous affixes. So, if it has only one meaning, it will be monosemous. If it has an alternative meaning, it will be polysemous. So, each morpheme or each affix having an alternative meaning would be considered as polysemous affixes, but if it has only one meaning, then it will be considered as monosemous affix. Okay? So, I will just briefly talk about another domain of morphology here, which has a connection with polysemy and monosemy. When I was talking about monosemous and polysemous words, you need to understand a morpheme, if it has multiple meanings and multiple forms, then it is going to be a polysemous, multiple meanings, it will be a polysemous word, polysemous affix. But if it has multiple forms, then it will be known as allomorph. So, that is why we would say there is a function in morphological typology, we call it allomorphic variation. So, what is an allomorph? An allomorph is like an allomorph would be two different morphemes where the forms are different, but they indicate the same meaning, right. So, the meaning remains same, but forms are different, allomorph. The meaning is different, but the form is same, that will be polysemy, right, polysemous. So, these are two different domains or two different types to understand when you are trying to figure out what is morphological typology. Okay. So, in English, the three principal allomorphs are conditioned by the last sound of the stem. So, primarily the plural marking, okay, the plural marking in English is considered to be allomorphs. However, in Turkish, there are three different plural suffixes for three different forms. So, let's check that. First we will check English and Turkish, and later we will think about the Serbo-Croatian languages. So, that is a different story altogether, which has a zero morpheme. We do not have the data for the Serbo-Croatian here, but I will just briefly tell you what it is. Now, first analyze the English data given in 10A. In 10A, when the word is cat, the morpheme is cats. When the word is dog, the morpheme is dogs. When the word is kiss, the morpheme is kisses, the plural morpheme, right. In cats, the plural morpheme is s or sir. In dogs, the plural morpheme is s or sir again. However, in kiss, the plural morpheme is s. So, s and es are the allomorphs in English, right, because also phonetically they are different. When it is cat, it becomes cats, sir sound. When it is dog, it becomes dogs, z sound. And when it is kiss, it becomes kisses, z sound. So, phonetically also they are different, and morphologically you will see s and es, which are the meaning remains same, but the forms are different. Then you call them allomorphs, s and es, remember. And my question for you would be, can you find out another plural morpheme which can also be considered as allomorph here? Think about it, we have already discussed, you just need to give me an idea. So, that is the story of English. Let us compare this with Turkish and how Turkish is different. The first example in 10B is men. Men is the plural of man. So, Adam, lar. So, Adam is the man and lar is the plural marker. When it is ev, which means house, we have already checked it in the previous Turkish data, with f it becomes ler. So, lar and ler, these are also the plural suffix has variant forms. Okay. However, the mean the same. So, that is also going to be in the category of allomorphic variations. So, when the root word is Adam, the morpheme is lar. When the root word is f, the morpheme is ler. So, the forms are different, but the meanings are same. That is why both English and Turkish will have allomorphic variations. In Serbo-Croatian languages, there are some zero morphemes. In English also we have zero morphemes like sheep. When you say sheep, then obviously you don't really have the plural form like sheeps. You generally have sheep is sheep and deer is deer, D-E-E-R. When it is plural, then also it remains deer. So, that is a zero morpheme associated with it. And this morpheme does not really have any phonetic form or any phonetic representation. Okay. So, Now, we saw different kinds of morphological typology in our hand. To begin with, we have synthetic analytic variation, then we went to stem-stem, stem-affix, affix-affix variation, and within the stem-affix, we have the restrictive or the separatist type, and then the accommodative or the cumulative type. And after that, we also have monosemous, polysemous difference and allomorphic variations also. So, all of these, they contribute to make morphological typology an interesting discipline to study. So, whatever function I have discussed by now, my suggestion for you would be, please explain, like please try to explore whether your language also behave in the similar way with any of these. We have discussed Malay data, English data, Turkish data, Latin data, right? At least these 4 languages have been discussed here. Do you think your language has some kind of similarity with any of these, or it's a very different language, and then probably we can claim that see or look, the cross-linguistic division which has been given in Moravcik's book or in the literature itself or in the literature as a whole is insufficient. Here is a language which does not follow any of these categories. Then another category or another type is going to be introduced. So, I will stop it here for today. With more examples and more typological discussions in morphology, we will meet in the next session. Thank you.